welcome to another episode of the Here We Go podcast. I am your host, Trent Ging. And before I get started today, my wife and I were both off together yesterday. We were doing a lot of running around. I didn't get a chance to do a recording. So I know I'm a day late to this, but I wanted to just say a very large thank you to not only the veterans of this country, but their families as well. The sacrifices that all of them make are what make America the country that it is, that gives us the freedom to do really just nonsense type things like, record a podcast. But in all seriousness, we owe all of our freedom to these individuals and their families each and every single day. It's hard to limit this just to a one-day thing, but I just want you to know, if any of you are veterans and you happen to see this video, that I really appreciate everything that you have done for this country and for me and my family. So I wanted to start with that first of all. Getting back into football, the Steelers get, in my opinion, a massive win on Sunday. The game was closer than I anticipated. I actually thought Jayden Daniels would struggle more than he did. And to his credit, his numbers didn't blow anybody out of the water. But the kid hung in there, and he just kept going. And I thought he played pretty well, considering. It was a matchup of just something has to give. And we talked about that, not only just with me and Colin. I talked about it a little bit with Derek Bell. I talked about it with Zachary Smith. I talked about it with Alan Saunders. This game was a top-tier defense versus a top-tier offense. Number 2 defense, number 3 scoring offense. Something had to give. Now, their offense still put up points, but we gave them some advantageous situations. And I thought our defense played really, really well overall, to be perfectly honest with you. They held Jayden Daniels in check, who I thought at times looked more like a rookie in this game than he had in previous games, but he actually still played pretty well, like I said. What this game really signifies to me is, for the first time in a really, really long time, probably looking back into 2018, maybe some of 2020, but honestly, I don't feel like 2020 was this type of team. I feel like you got to go back to the 2018 team, where an offense can lose all of the momentum. And we did in this game. Washington scores a touchdown before the half. They score a touchdown coming out of the half. That's a 14-point swing. You have a drive where it's late in the game. Jaylen Warren has the ball down to the 1-yard line, gets stripped. That should have crushed our offense. And in years past, I think a lot of the fan base would have been like, it's over. It's going to be over. Even if we get the ball back in a 4-minute situation, this offense isn't good enough to move the ball. And honestly, we didn't have a good day on offense yesterday. That's why it was all the more encouraging to me. The fact that the running game didn't actually get going the way that we would have liked it to. The fact that Russell Wilson did not play his best game. The fact that the offensive line probably played one of the worst games it's played all season. And yet this offense found a way to drive the ball all the way back downfield and score again. And continue to fight back. And then when you need a play, you bring a guy off the bench who has never run this route, who just is getting acclimated to this offense. And Russell Wilson's like, you got this, dude. I'm going to throw this right to you. And it's a beautiful pass. He drops it right in the bucket for Mike Williams, who goes and beats his man. And you're, as a fan base, we haven't seen this type of an offense that even when it's not playing good can still go out and make plays to win a game, but still has the potential to put up 29 points. Listen, Washington's a better football team than anyone thought they would be at this point in this season. And that offense is pretty legitimate, to be honest with you. Like, seeing it in action against our defense, that's a good football team. And Cliff Kingsbury has called really good games. Dan Quinn's got some magic going over there to turn that franchise around the way that it has in such a quick turnaround time. Man, I'll tell you what, they're going to be a tough team. They're going to be a tough out coming to the playoff time. You better have a good defense if you're going to shut them down. But I feel like it was so encouraging to see that our defense didn't have to carry us to a victory in this game. This wasn't a 14-13 type game. There were some crazy things that happened. You know, the fake punts that quite honestly should have not only been a first down, but man, he had all day to run. That goes sideways. It's dropped. And then you're looking at, oh my God, it's first and goal at the 15 with the number 3 ranked offense. And it was inevitable they were scoring in that situation. And it sucked the momentum out of the building for us. But it's the way the team battled. And even the game sealing drive to not give them the ball back. Sure, it takes a fourth down where we bait a guy into jumping off sides. But it's just, you find a way to win. And the way Russell Wilson kept fighting through that game, I mean, he had pressure in his face all game. He's trying to make plays on the run. He did make some plays on the run. George Pickens came up big in this game. And it was just one of those days where the offense at times looks out of sync. At other times, they're driving. I thought Pat Freiermuth came up big. The stat sheet wasn't great. But he had some really timely catches to get third down conversions. The touchdown obviously has to be thrown in there as well. That was more of a really nice play design. Van Jefferson does a great job of not picking the man illegally. That helps Freiermuth get open. Honestly, Russ just made the plays that needed to be made. I felt like this is obviously it was the worst of the 3 games that we've seen from Russell Wilson so far. But dude still was throwing touchdowns. I mean, statistically, completion percentage wasn't very good. 190 yards passing, not very good. 3 touchdowns. The George Pickens catch to start the game off with a touchdown was remarkable. I mean, that is remarkable. The way he contorts his body to make that catch in the end zone, looking for the ball over the other shoulder. And he's played. Listen, I was hard on him there for a little bit there. George will never see this video, but the way he's played lately is exactly what Pittsburgh's wanted. Not just in the receiving game. He's blocking downfield. I saw a play. Typical Najee Harris play, right? He runs up the middle. He gets hit 2 yards into this. And he starts kind of driving through guys. Then he squirts out for a half second. George stops blocking. And he hurries up to run to try to get in front of his man. Now, before he had to contact him again, Najee goes down. If that's 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, I should say, I guess, before Russ takes his first snaps, he's not blocking, let alone trying to get back in front of the guy after he sees his running back scored out of a pile for a brief second. He's walking to the huddle. That's effort. That is effort. And I'll tell you what, they found something with the connection between he and Russ that is keeping him happy, that's keeping him engaged. And when he wants to be, he's actually a pretty dang good blocker. If you keep this kind of engagement from George Pickens the rest of the season, man, watch out. The rest of the NFL better be on notice because he's been unstoppable. When he's all in, that dude is unstoppable. I mean, even the play where he's running in that slant pattern, catches the ball, breaks through two guys, keeps going downfield. I actually thought if he stayed to the left and headed down the sideline, he might have had a chance to beat the guy down the sideline for a touchdown. But he doesn't fall to the ground. He kept fighting for more yards and more yards. I mean, come on. We weren't seeing that guy earlier in the season. He loves the ball in his hands. There's no doubt about that. But he wasn't fighting for yardage. He wasn't fighting to go back in front of a guy to make a block. This is the best of George Pickens right now. And we need to keep that guy engaged because now that he's got help with Mike Williams, who, oh, by the way, in case you didn't notice, can still run by people for everyone knocking that trade. It pays dividends in his first target as a Steeler. That's the piece we were missing. Look at that game. We're still trying to take shots downfield to Calvin Austin. We're still trying to take shots downfield to Van Jefferson. Unless those guys are wide open, they're not going to make that play. Mike Williams will. This trade's going to be better than I think people think it is an initial reaction. And I'm not just judging that based on he has one catch for 35 yards and a touchdown. I just mean, my God, we didn't have anybody else who could make a catch for 35 yards and a touchdown unless Calvin Austin's running wide open. Like, we just weren't seeing that. Not on a deep shot. I'll tell you what. This team feels like it's legit after this win. And we've got Baltimore. And Baltimore is going to bring its own different attitude and its own different play style. And it's going to be just a beast of a game. The physicality is going to be off the charts. You got Derrick Henry added into this rivalry now. Patrick Queen flipping from Baltimore to Pittsburgh. Sean Elliott, who's been a Raven, now he's in Pittsburgh. He's back in the AFC North. 2 weeks ago, I didn't like this matchup at all. And I saw people saying, like, Baltimore's going to run for over 200 yards against us because look at what Washington did. They had like 62 yards of rushing. I don't know where everybody's like in this panic that we can't stop the run. Listen, this isn't college football. And even in college football, do you really hold people below 60 yards rushing? Maybe if they threw it 62 times. I thought the defense played well. And, man, the Cam Hayward people out there who didn't want this contract, that crow has got to taste bad. Because this dude, I thought he could be back around a top 10 player at his position. He's not even a top 5 player at his position. He is a top 3 guy right now. He's playing out of this world. He's completely back to being Cam Hayward. Completely back. Dude is an absolute stud. He's playing the run. He's playing the pass. I think I undersold where Cam Hayward could be this year. I think I'm going to turn out to be really, really wrong. I undersold how good he would be. I thought it would take a little time to get back. I didn't know if there would be any lingering effects from that groin. Clearly, there's not. 5 sacks already. I predicted him to have 8.5, and I think he can get to 8.5. He's on pace for 10. Again. For the third time in 4 years, he's on pace for 10 sacks. He's a run-stuffing machine. Boy, that contract looks really good right now. It's remarkable how good that contract looks. DeShon Elliott making plays in the backfield again, man. I can't say enough about that dude. For 2 years, $6 million or whatever it was, that's the best money this team's ever spent on a defender. For that price tag, whoo! Boy, is that man playing outside of that contract. He's playing way above what his contract is right now. It's quite remarkable. Big fan of DeShon Elliott. Like the signing in the offseason. Colin and I have talked about him continuously, and he just keeps showing up, man. This isn't even like a tip of the cap or a feather in our cap or whatever you want to say. DeShon Elliott's just a damn good football player, man. I really like his game. I like what he's brought to the table. People talked about him being a liability in the pass game. I mean, I really haven't seen it. He's had a rough game, but not really much of anything to talk about in any negative way about DeShon Elliott right now. It's been fantastic. Landon Roberts gets more play time in this game, and he does exactly what we thought he would do, man. He played a really good game, I thought, too. This team has to get healthy, and I don't know where the Alex Highsmith injury is going to end up. It seems like it's short term, which is a really good thing. I listened to Alan Saunders talk in the post game. He thinks it's going to be a couple week injury, maybe. Boy, does the Preston Smith signing look even better now. And for a 7th round pick, I talked about the value that he brings. But you get Nick Herbig back for the Baltimore game. Preston Smith is a good run defender. And losing a good run defender like Alex Highsmith for the Baltimore game makes that trade just absolutely genius right now. Because there's no way you could have told me Alex Highsmith's going to go down. Jeremiah Moon and Nick Herbig are going to set the edge against Baltimore with a 300-pound fullback and a 200, and let's be honest, Derrick Henry's not 250. He looks more like 260-pound running back coming downhill at you. And these two guys are going to set that edge? No. Preston Smith? Yeah. I feel confident with Preston Smith. He's probably 280. He can take that fullback on and set the edge. He can help slow down Derrick Henry, and we're not going to stop Derrick Henry. Let's just be honest. We struggled to stop him, and we've played well against him. But he didn't have a lot of help in Tennessee. Lamar Jackson is playing fantastic. It's much harder to key on a guy like Derrick Henry when you've got the weapons around him with Lamar Jackson. So I'll say this. I feel so much better about that signing and that trade right now with Preston Smith than I thought I would. I liked it, but man, is this going to be a massive, massive upgrade in run defense now that he's a part of this team. I feel good. I thought Jaylen Warren actually played better than I felt like he's played so far this year. I like that because we need that guy. You need a second guy in this backfield who can give Najee a break, who keeps Najee fresh and healthy for the stretch run. And Jaylen had that burst back. He looked decisive. He was actually the better of the two running backs in this game, both in yards per carry and I think in total yards. But he just looked like the better back right now. And I really liked what I saw out of him. Patterson back, limited role. didn't honestly look all that comfortable in the return game, which was a bit shocking. But we really haven't had just a really good return so far out of this new kick return rule. So that's interesting. But really like what I'm seeing so far from the team. But I think it's a massive win. I think this goes a long way to building momentum towards the playoff. Baltimore is going to be a massive game as well, obviously. First division game. I love what I saw. Colin and I will break this down a little bit more. But man, you got to like what you saw. So, hope you all had a great victory Monday. It is now Tuesday. We'll be talking about the team to wrap this up with Colin on tomorrow. But love it. I love everything about it. Feel really good about where we're at. We have an opportunity to separate ourselves from Baltimore this Sunday. Can't wait to see that game. It's going to be amazing. So, as always, you know the deal. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We love feedback. Let us know what you're thinking. I hope you all have a great day.